thank you so much for sharing with us. So over to you. Enjoy the presentation.
Yeah,
I'm very
thanks,
happy
Debs. Thank
Sorry.
you. Julia, thank you so much. I went through your LinkedIn profile, and it's amazing to see all of the different institutions that you worked for. And I'm assuming a lot of the times you're talking about, or you've been dealing with the same thing as a CDO. It's about aligning all the data management to the business value. Now, I'd love to know, is this more towards the monetization, or is it more towards the business matrix, business performance, or is it both? Are you dealing with both of those?
It's all of the above. So
Fantastic.
it's basically around, and I'll get to it because that was the inspiration for this book, my experience leading data programs, and the things that I observed and struggled with and were challenges to me on how to get value out of data. And a lot of it was around aligning the incentives across business, operations, and technology. And that's where this whole thing started after you leave a full-time job that involves moving like 400 people team, all of a sudden there is room in your brain. And out of that room, that's what got built. So let me share my screen and let us get going. And I'm not unless I'm presenting like to the board of something, I'm not a very formal person. And you may have noticed it as I speak. So please, if you have questions, raise your hand. I'm happy to discuss any of the concepts here and how I got there. And I'm also quite comfortable saying if I don't know something. So I'm like, just ask your questions, basically. I'm gonna share my screen. I was looking for a picture. Unfortunately, those are $1 bills, so it's actually not too much money here. I couldn't find $100 bills picture. But let's move on. Hold on, let me make sure I'm pressing on the. Okay, so this is about me. So as Howard mentioned, I've been in the industry, in corporation for all of my career. I started as a developer. I have a development background at Bloomberg, and that was before Bloomberg was so well known, before Mike was the mayor, before any of the media stuff. I was a programmer, and then I moved on to Bear Stearns. Eventually at Freddie Mac, I got into management, and completely randomly, I got into managing data team. I actually wanted to manage the front office applications team, so I could have direct connection to the business, to the trading floor. But I didn't get the job, and I got the data job, and turned out I'm actually pretty good at data. So I kind of stayed with that from then on. And when financial crisis hit, I joined Citi, and I was person number 3 in their Hyatt. I was person number 3 that was hired into Citi chief data office after the financial crisis. And a lot of what we kind of became the foundation of data governance, data management around critical data elements and issue management and resolution process, data quality measurement, all of the policies, all of that kind of came out from that time, from Citi, from work Peter Sirenita was doing at HSBC, from what John Bottega was doing. So I feel like we were at the beginning of all of this. And then I did regulatory focused data management, data governance at Citi, at Deutsche Bank. And I wanted to move on. I wanted to move on from regulatory drivers. And that's the job at Voya Financial came along, and that was not regulatory drivers at all. That was all about business drivers. How do we use data to improve our business results? So this all comes from my experiences. I've worked for a lot of companies, but not so very many. I actually named them, and obviously, there are no secrets for me to share. I've been out of them for a really long time, so I can't share any secrets. But it's all based on the real stories and on my experiences, as this whole book and this webinar. So we're going to start with the stats. And the most, this one's been out there for a few years.
Yeah.
So average lifespan of a CDO is 2 years. I think it's Randy, God, and I blanked out on his last name. God, and he would not like it that I blanked out. A very well-known guy. Howard, can you help me here? Anyway, it'll come back to me. So he publishes, he does surveys every year, and he publishes a lot in Forbes and in HBR and MIT Sloan, and that's
Doug
one of the
Laney?
is
that Doug Laney?
Randy Bean. Randy
Oh,
Bean.
okay.
Randy Bean. Yeah, Randy Bean.
Okay.
And I actually know him. And when I got at Voya at 4-year mark, he called me and he said, "So what's your secret? How come you survived more than 2 years?" And I think the secret was more that I was always very much focused on business value. That's been because I was applications developer, not data developer, applications developer. I was always very much focused as my stuff being used by the business. And that helped me a great deal. But the lifespan remains. So why is that? So that's a big one. Why do CDOs move on after 2 years? And sometimes they move on because they get a better offer. And sometimes they move on because whatever people thought data officers will achieve didn't happen. The other really unpleasant statistic is 70% of digital transformations fail. So again, the question is why? And again, so that's also kind of unpleasant statistic because companies spend enormous amount of money on digital transformation. And having that failure rate is high. Yeah, Howard, you said that you have a question.
Yes, I know that PMI published that that's also an AI failure rate. So are you linking the two together?
Yes,
AI?
That's the next one.
Okay, all right. So that isn't it Gen AI, the ROI one? Okay.
So they didn't really specify whether it was Gen AI or AI.
Yes.
And people nowadays, when they say AI, they mean Gen AI, which kind of annoys me.
Right.
Because, we've been doing this for years, and yeah, the names move, but statistical, like quants. I've worked a lot with quants in Freddie Mac. And that was the earlier data science. It was statistical modeling to predict future results. Right. So all of those numbers are pretty bad numbers.
Yeah.
Notwithstanding the hype around AI. So why is that? So that many reasons, but the main reason I observed in my career that it's not that technology is bad. We know how to do technology. Obviously, data management platforms, AI, digital transformation, there is a lot of complexity to it. But the reason that fails is not because our data warehouses aren't good data warehouses, or when we put together like data catalogs, all the tags around data management, it's the culture piece. Because data CDO job is a change management job. And one of the things we have to change how people do their business. And that's very hard to do. It's a lot easier to change or to bring technology in and build the platforms that get business people to change how they approach things. A lot of my experience comes, let's say, from master data management. And there is another guy who writes an incredibly good blog on LinkedIn. He's been writing forever, David Knott. He's in UK, and I don't know the guy, I just started following him. And he writes a blog called A Lot to Learn. And he's a CTO, so he's not a data person. But he wrote about, and he came up with a name called Sockware. So his idea was how we have sock drawers where like misshape, like things you don't use anymore and you keep just in case, and you don't know what's in there. And his point was there was a lot of software that we built that goes into that sock drawer. And I was reading that and I'm kind of nodding along. And then his examples were all data examples. So he said that, that platform we brought in to basically master data management platform or data warehouse we built or something. And I felt so badly You know, there are other examples as well, but all of his examples were data examples. And I'm like, yeah, and the reason it's not that the tech is bad, it's master data management. Doesn't matter how wonderful your platform or your tool is. If business is not doing its job, doesn't do it enthusiastically all the time, it's not, as a discipline, it's not going to work. It's not going to do what it's supposed to do. No technology is in data space will succeed if business operations, business culture doesn't change. The other big piece, for example, data quality, is not going to succeed. Data quality at the source, which is our holy grail, right? That's not going to happen unless front office business, and I'm using banking terminology, but pretty much business that's responsible for product onboarding and everything, if they don't prioritize making changes to data quality, to data that they produce, and they don't prioritize, and they will not prioritize it if they don't understand the value. So that's what started this whole thing for me, because we built a lot of stuff and it's pretty successful. But what I wanted to do, I wanted to build a bridge between business growth and data capabilities. I haven't had an executive yet in the last, I don't know, 10 years say, argue with the fact that data is really important to the business. Everybody agrees data is really important to the business. It's understanding it's not just data, it's also data capabilities. That's really important to the business. And the book that I wrote and the class that I teach, I keep mentioning the class because it's like, it's today at 6 p.m. my time. It's MBA students. So it's business students. It's not computer science students. And the reason I'm teaching it to the business, because I want business, you know, future wave of business leaders understand data capabilities. Again, I think Debbie asked me what brought this book. So one of the reasons for this book was that I got a question in executive committee meeting from a CEO of a company asking, so Julia, what's master data management? Like, I keep seeing it in your strategy. What is it? And, you know, it's executive committee meeting. It's after COVID. So it's on the phone. And you have about 30 seconds to reply to a CEO of the company. And yeah, I know how we've talked, all good, but still, and how do you define master data management to somebody who doesn't, you know, doesn't really know data management? Yeah. So I answered. And I would invite everybody on this call to think, how would you answer that? That's it's relevant to your business. The way I answered, I used Google as an example. And she got it in that moment, but Google is not relevant to Voya. That's not a relevant example. So a lot, again, and we're not going to cover because that's a whole other piece of my curriculum that's actually not even in the book. That's the next book. That I talk about how, what is master data management, metadata management, all of those things are meant for, how to explain and what does business need to do around this. But yeah, just getting through definition is important. So let's get to it. So agenda. We're going to talk about data strategy journey. We're going to talk about how we discover the value, extend the value, and we'll get to, well, Monday morning playbook, let's say Tuesday morning playbook, because we're already, like, it's already afternoon, no, maybe next Monday morning playbook. Okay. So data strategy journey. It's not just, by the way, data, it's pretty much every strategy, right? So why we are doing, what are the reasons, what are the goals, what are we going to do, where we're going to start and in what order, and then how we're going to do it. So what happens is that we, data people and technology people, are very comfortable with how. We can talk about how, as like I can spend hours, days talking about how, and I'm not, you know, and I haven't been actually hands on the keyboard for a really long time. All of us are very comfortable. Where we are not comfortable is why. And I find it all the time. Even like I teach this at TDWI. This coming Friday, actually. And I have a workshop in my 8-hour class. That is a workshop when people get to do it on their own. And they get to come up with a business challenge. And it's always a challenge for it to be a business challenge and not a data challenge. And it's a very interesting conversation because what you get is people saying our business challenge is our data in CRM is not high quality. I'm like, that's not a business challenge. What's the problem?
Hello.
Okay, I'm back, right?
Okay, good.
Yeah, something just happened. I don't know what.
I thought it was
You
me.
know, no, it's for some reason it's so. Is sometimes pretty challenging, and so that's why we're gonna start. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay, I'm gonna move on. So discovering business value. So as I'm gonna get to say this line here because I was not complaining, I was joking that Steve took this line out of the book. This is, I'm a data geek. And as you know, all the data geeks, we always start with definitions because how, how can you talk about anything before defining it first? So first, what is business value? So it's basically what is the value of the things you can do with data? It's contribution of data and data capabilities make to the bottom line of the company. This is my definition, but I've seen a lot of other definitions recently on this, and they're all kind of basically the value of the things you can do with data. Data, that's not particularly controversial. It's things known and assumed as facts, and it's based on reasoning or calculation, and it's a definition out of Oxford Languages. The second one, what is data capability? So I had to use ChatGPT. That was about 3 years ago when I went looking for definition of data capability. And Google, it was before Google went AI on us, Gen AI on us. And it kept, and all of the capability definitions were technology. And I don't know what ChatGPT got trained on, and it's a previous version. I haven't tried it recently, but it actually gave me the definition I was looking for, which is organizational and system ability to utilize data to support its objectives. And it's not only infrastructure, it's processes and skills. And that's where we are, because capability goes way beyond the technology platform. Yes, Hubbard.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's interesting because from a business architecture point of view, when they talk about the value proposition, they also have a capability, and that's referred to as the power to do something. It's the power to deliver value.
Right. Yeah. So I ran enterprise architecture team at Voya in addition to data team, and we did a lot of capability. So, and it was all of this, by the way, is works for technology. I'm concentrating on data for obvious reasons, but you start with the business goals and what are the business capabilities you need to achieve what you want to achieve, and what are technology and data capabilities you need to achieve that. So it kind of goes this, but you're absolutely right. Capability is a way or ability to deliver on value based on your processes, your technology, and your data.
And can I ask you, is it data capability or is it data management capability?
So I teach the Harvard, good question. I teach this to business people. I try to keep it simple. It's data management capability. So, okay. Yeah. So very important piece. And there is a story behind this line that only data is not enough. You need to have both. You need to have data capability and the data. And the story behind it, and it's in my book, and I do talk about it a lot because it kind of triggered a lot of thinking in my head. When I started at Voya, it was a senior position. So one of the things you had to do, or was part of it, was meet and greet all the business leaders in the company. And Voya had at the time for business lines, and I went to meet with all the CEOs. And eventually, like 3 months down the road, I got CEO. I got the CEO of the major business line. And everybody was very, very nice. I was coming from Citi and Deutsche Bank, where people were very straightforward, kind of, and in your face, much more so. Voya, everybody, it was so nice. Everybody was so nice. So I went to talk to him, and he's like, welcome, and I'm hoping you settle in. So we have this nice little conversation, and he's like, yes, and I'm sure that you will find that you will enjoy your time here. I'm not sure what you will do for me, though, because, yeah, because I don't have problem with data. And my jaw dropped a little bit because I've already been in the company for 3 months, and I talked to a lot of people in his area. And Vo is a retirement company, and I don't know how many people here know the retirement market, but one of the things that's really important when you manage retirement money is a retirement age. And to know retirement age, knowing the birth date, is kind of important. And at that point, I actually was working with their people as one of our earliest proof of concepts is the quality of the birth date, date of birth in the records. And they had an awful quality there. So I knew he had problems with data. But so here is what he's telling me. So I don't have a problem with data. I do have sometimes problems with getting reports on time. And sometimes they don't agree with each other. But it's reports. I don't have really any problem with data. So unfortunately, I'm not great. I was so surprised, and I was talking to, the head of the business line. I did not react. Like, I just kind of said, okay, well, we'll see, and I left. And then I spent a year and a half building stuff for his team. And then eventually he got on the list of my supporters. And we're friends now. And we kind of, last time we saw each other, we kind of chuckled about this. And he knows I use this all the time. But what I should have said, that I'm a chief data officer. I don't create data. My job is not, your team creates data. That's what you do. Yeah. What I do is create ways for you to use the data. So the reason you get reports quickly, on time, and they're correct, and you can trust them. That's what I should have said. I don't know, maybe somebody's blessed with an ability to say just the right thing at just the right time. It ain't me. I have to think about that. So, but anyway, so that's the story about, so this is where we start, is that you just having data is not enough. Data capability is really important. Inverse is also true, and it's underappreciated, or at least I, as a data management person, underappreciated it. If you build data capability, but the data that it's processing is not relevant to the company or to your next use case, that's not helpful either. You get a little bit of acceleration, but not a huge amount of acceleration. And I think that's actually one of the reasons why banks had such a trouble switching from defense to offense. And actually, I'm going to get to that page. So I'm going to talk about defense and offense, and we'll talk about that. So what about AI? We have hype about AI. So is AI a totally different beast? And I'm going to be, AI is a data capability. It's data capability on steroids, but it's one of the capabilities. And when you have to create AI strategy, it's pretty much the same approach. You understand the value, you understand what capabilities you need. AI is one of those capabilities, and you use it in the right place. So that's after lots and lots of working with AI, because even before Gen AI, we work with machine learning, data science. It's a data capability. It's evolution of business intelligence. It's a big step in the evolution. It's kind of a jump, especially with Gen AI, but it's still a data capability. Any questions? Howard, you look like you're not convinced.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. It's so dependent on records, content, data, but it's also so dependent on systems and
Yes.
digital development. So I mean, do we say that systems is a data capability? Because AI is a system. It's a, if we think of all of the technology around Gen AI in terms of LLMs and RAGs and agentic AI and the compound, it's just tech and dev. Of course, I mean, without the data, it's useless. But I mean, it's almost everything's coming together. It's not like, I mean, it's a true digital world that we live in.
Yeah, but think about master data. So master data has a system. Like master data management platforms are incredibly complex technology platforms. But it is a data management capability, right?
Sure.
So AI is more complex than that because it brings more things together. I think, and you can look at it because you do need technology, like data warehousing. It's a data management capability, but also there is a huge technology component to that, right? So we can split those hairs, and we're data people, so we can spend a long time figuring that out. The reason I'm my view is that thinking of AI as data capability actually gets you out of some of this 95% failure rate. Because if you think of AI as a standalone thing, that's technology thing that's unconnected to business strategy, to the data you have, you get into that failure rate. So my approach is, and what I'm advocating, thinking of AI as a data capability that's a tool in your toolbox that you can use to deliver value, understanding the ways it does deliver value, and create, and that's how you get into 5% club. So, okay. So framework business value of data. So we're going to get into that. So let's step away from data completely and think about how do companies grow. So formula is actually quite simple. For company to grow, for most of the company, about 90% of the companies, they have to get more customers, buy more of their product at a better margin and an acceptable risk. Majority of the business strategy that you have in any company will have to do with one or usually more than of these pillars. So more customers, you have to get new customers, and you have to retain your current customers. More product, you want to get people utilizing your current product more, and you want to cross-sell, so buy additional product, and you want to innovate, you want to get new products to the market. This is how you grow. For better margin, it's operational efficiency, it's asset optimization, right? So usually, and then acceptable risk. You can't kill the risk. If you kill the risk, you pretty much kill the company. There is no growth without risk. But if you don't manage risk, it overtakes your company. And we know so many examples where when companies did not manage risk well, they basically disappeared. The early example, and I'm dating myself, is Enron. Right, and we had, and we have a lot of much more recent examples as well. Was it FX exchange, right? The crypto exchange that not only disappeared, but the guy went to jail.
Yes.
That was also not managing the risks well, and like all kinds of risks. So when you start, and the reason I start here, Howard.
And I'm assuming if you were to go to public service or citizen or government, then I'm assuming you wouldn't really be focusing on more customers, but certainly your margins and your operational efficiency is critical without the risk.
Excellent question, Howard. Thank you for asking. So absolutely, this is incredibly adaptable. So I've done actually quite a bit of work with nonprofit. And in my book, I have the whole chapter.
Okay.
With this kind of framework for nonprofits. So it's not growth, it's achieving mission. It's not customers, it's users or participants, or basically who you are helping. It's not products, it's your programs or services you provide, and margin, of course, is margin, and the risk is risk. Yeah, so absolutely, it's very applicable. It's also very applicable to government organizations. So I actually have variation on this for pretty much a majority of different types of companies. And in the book, there is whole chapter on how does this apply to mission-driven nonprofits. And government organization, the same, like member-based organization. I did some work with the member-based organization, and there was again variation on this as well. So when we, again, more definitions. So when we talk about data defense, Generally speaking, we talk about acceptable risk. So it's using data for managing risk. When we talk about data offense, we talk about more customers and more product. I kind of carved out monetization. It's a form of data offense, of course. The reason I carved out, because in the book I have a case study for data monetization of very specific kind. What I'm talking about, companies that are in a very difficult situation. Their main product line, the highest revenue products, have shrinking margins. How do you deal with it? This is a really difficult problem, especially if it's a public company. It's your highest revenue business. You can't sell it. If you sell it, you don't exist as a company anymore, even if you have others. But it's shrinking margins. So even if you grow, like you grow revenue, but your profit doesn't grow. So how do you meet all of your targets? How do you do this? Efficiency, you can't, like after a certain point, you can't squeeze efficiency anymore. Yeah. You know, you outsource everything you could outsource, you automated everything you could automate, you did whatever you can, and it is what it is. And most of those companies also use COBOL. So there is only so much. Like if you have a really legacy company, there is a lot of really old technology that's very difficult and high risk to get out of. So when I call monetization here is using the data and relationships from your highest revenue business to build new products that have higher margins. So that's that's kind of my definition here. It's a little bit different from what, for example, Gartner, because Gartner monetization definition encompasses all of it. But I want to call it out because, again, this is something I came across many times, both in my career and then with my clients. And I wanted to call it out. And again, I have a whole case study on this in the book. Yes, Hubbard?
And is it not still possible that we can be a lot more productive and efficient with AI?
It depends on data. Yes, you can.
Sure. But yeah. But it's an opportunity.
It is an opportunity. However, I'm actually, one of my pet peeves, and I will probably write a newsletter on this at some point. Sometimes I have to figure out how to write newsletter without calling, like pinpointing who I have had a conversation with, but it's many. People are looking at AI as next evolution of RPA, robotics process automation.
Right.
And agentic AI, one of the things I did, and it's not visible anywhere on my either resume or LinkedIn, I actually established RPA at Voya. And I've learned a lot of lessons. And it was before AI. And one of the major lessons I've learned that RPA, you have to have a huge change management initiative first to standardize the processes and standardize the data before RPA actually brings money.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of really large consulting firms selling AI. Like I've seen it now a few times. Like I have clients coming to me, we have AI strategy, but we're not sure how to operationalize it. And I look at it, and it's all about using agentic AI for RPA, for automating business processes. There is no connection to data. It does, and there is also no room for, we're going to first go and standardize and change our business processes and standardize the data. So it's, yeah, absolutely. I agree that AI can help a great deal. You've got to be careful with it.
Yeah.
It's one of the tools. Absolutely. Okay. So when I was talking before, when I started talking about bank, had an issue. Remember I said data capability. You just have data, you don't have capabilities, it ain't useful. Building data capabilities, which is a lot of banks have done for managing regulatory risk. So for the defense portion of the exercise, the capabilities are there, but the data flowing through them is very different what you need for data offense. And that's where a lot of complexity is. And I've been kind of watching the journeys of the large banks that have built a lot for regulatory, and they had a huge trouble switching to data offense in a way that's really brought value. Like I've just seen it over and over. And of course, my statistic, it's not statistically valid sample. It's about 5-6 banks. There are a lot more banks out there. but still, I have seen this over and over again as a pattern. And that's one of the things that actually went against what I was thinking, that it's okay, you have a capability, you build master data management, just pipe in through another set of data and you're good. It ain't that simple.
Mm.
So moving on. All right, any questions on this? No, okay. So we're gonna do a case study. So one of the things I do in the book, I do case studies. And for this talk, I picked customer lifetime value. The case study, because this is around data offense and it applies to many companies, basically every type of company. Let's go into that. So first we're going to talk about what is customer lifetime value and why is this important. So it's a different way of looking at the value of a customer. So it's a total amount of money a customer is expected to spend with the business over lifetime of their relationship. So it's not the most money you can get them on to sign right now for this current contract. It's looking for the whole lifetime. It's maximizing the lifetime. Mm-hmm. So if you look at our business value of data framework, that's a really important number that drives a lot of pillars in here. So customer acquisition costs. Are you spending a lot of money to get a customer that doesn't have, is your acquisition cost higher than your lifetime value? Is your retention efforts higher than lifetime value? Can you cross-sell? That deepens the lifetime value. Cost of servicing is one of the much underappreciated the driver of lifetime value. And the same, and managing the risk. So how many products do you have? So if you're a bank, you have to have a full view of all the products. So customers that have a lot of value also can create a lot of risks. Mm-hmm. So it's a very important metric. And I would like for people, if I, like when I do it in class or in real life, I actually ask for show of hands. How many people can actually calculate customer, or how many companies can calculate customer lifetime value? Because that requires actually quite extensive data capabilities. So let's talk about this. So this is my information map for generic customer lifetime value. What do we need to know to get to customer lifetime value? So we obviously need to know about revenues, right? We need to know the products they're buying, how much they're paying, and all the associated fees, right, that they're paying. So if it's a credit card, there is a revenue stream based on the merchant fees, but also if you're late with the payment, that's another revenue stream. Now, client cost. So most companies do actually quite well with the revenue. They know what revenues the clients bring. That's relatively well understood. Yeah. Because it's very difficult to plan your business. Where companies don't do as well is cost, because there is intrinsic product cost and there is the cost of servicing the client. So intrinsic product cost, again, companies that produce physical products do relatively well. So they do know how much money it takes them to produce a cell phone or TV or, you name it. So they do really well there. Companies that give services, that's a lot harder. So like I've been in the banks for a lot of my career. What's more, how much checking account versus savings account versus credit card cost? I don't know if anybody can even say that and how you define it. So that's actually a very difficult thing, but you need to understand that, right? And then servicing costs. So if you have a client that calls all the time into your call center, they expensive client to have, even if they have a lot of products. So you have to know that. Yes, Howard.
So it's interesting because your definition talks about spending money or the revenue, and you're introducing costs, which is not typically related to what the customer spends with us. So are you extending that thing to be a profit type of thing?
It's a profit, yeah.
Right, okay.
Very, very good point, Howard, and I will probably change the definition because it's total amount of money a company makes from the customer.
Yes, yes.
So it's revenue, it's how much you spend, but also if you cost a lot. Yeah, so you're absolutely right. I should change the definition. Thank you. I don't think I can change it in the book, but yeah.
No, that's okay.
Yeah. That's, yeah. I mean, it is what it is. But yes, you're absolutely right. What I meant is profit from the customer.
Profit,
I think we have another question.
Yes, hi. Also, just on that, if I read correctly in the definition, you talked about expected. Is that customer lifetime value? Is there two that you compare against each other? So the expected versus what they actually did, or
so let me get
expected,
there.
And is expected. Let's say for Modelware, if you don't mind, as we've got a list of products, and we possibly could sell all 10 courses to you, Julia, and therefore I can calculate the expected lifetime value from you, meaning I could, if it's R1 per course and there's 10, I could get 10 Rand out of you. Is that what you're trying to calculate?
So there are two things. It's how much I'm spending now and what's projected. So actually, let me client tenure.
Okay.
Right, how long they've been with the company and projected tenure. Right, so it's terms of the agreement and it's average tenure and the prior history of the client. So this is generic. And the idea here that, yes, you have a client or you're acquiring a client and revenue. So the products they have now, products you may be able, like I actually, for the generic one, it's last cross-sell is the products they have now, plus the projected time they will keep those products and keep saving, paying before switching to something else. And then that's your CLV. And then you want to increase CLV by adding more products. And if you add more products, then your CLV changes.
Okay, got you. Thank you.
So you're not trying to count chicken before they hatch.
No problem. Thanks.
Yes, but you do count the chickens for the lifetime of a chicken. If that makes sense.
And is that external data, the average tenure? Is it not across all of my customers for all the lifetime of my organization? This is the average time they spend with me. Is it external or internal?
It could be both.
Okay.
So one of the reasons I'm saying external, because there are also industry trends. So for example, if I go back like cell phone, how often people keep the same cell phone or service, or if I go, for example, if how long people generally stay with this within the same database platform. So it could be, my experience, but it also could be industry experience. And there could be, like, I have an example somewhere in the book around if you're a consulting company and you're trying to figure out your CLV for one of your clients, some of the external data, and it's actually CRM data, specifically, did the new, if you're a consulting company and the new leader came in, are they going to bring their own favorite consultants, and are you going to lose them or, shrink? Will your footprint shrink? So that's kind of external data or CRM data, you name it. So yeah, could be all kinds of data. Again, this is more generic. Yeah. Okay. So what capability? So this is data, right? Let's talk about capabilities portion of it. To operationalize it. So we need to identify information sources, right? We need to combine them and make them usable somehow. And then you need to calculate CLV. And what capabilities do we need? So what do we call a data discipline that identifies and manages information sources? That's called data governance, right? So a lot of people think data governance is a discipline that creates policies and makes you jump through hoops before you can move anything to production. That's one of my pet peeves. Data governance makes delivery of value from data possible. So one of the things, the way it does it, and I really like as an explanation to the business when they say, why do we need data governance? I'm like, that's what helps you figure out what's the right source of data. Because generally people go to convenient or friendly source of data versus to the one that has the right data. And data governance also makes sure that your good sources of data actually stay good. So combine and make them usable. Data governance, again, because data governance is the middle of every single data capability. Master data management, right? You need to bring data from multiple sources. You need to be able to combine. And that's common keys. That's master data management. Data quality, making them usable. So you actually trust whatever CLV number. And of course, data integration is huge data capability, very technology driven. Still, I have a whole chapter on data integrate, like not in the book. Book doesn't touch on data capabilities. I kind of was writing for 3 months. I'm like, okay, I have a book length. This is a good place to stop. I'll write the second book on the capabilities. But I teach that quite a bit, and what is specifically the business role in every one of those capabilities. And then calculate CLV. Some of it is pure math because of what is, but then you're projecting what will be. And there is also last mile. So calculating CLV, even if you have CLV sitting somewhere in your database, it's not particularly useful. What you want is that number to be delivered in every point of contact, point of sales with the customer, so you know who you're talking to. So for example, again, and I give this example in the book as well, I used to, in New York, they're usually one cable company. And that was before, like now I don't have cable, but I used, there was no other way to get TV. So you have cable, but I was not a very good customer, not high CLV at all. And then they would try to raise rates, and I would call them and say, I'm gonna drop you. And even though there was no way for me to drop, meaning for me to drop them, I wouldn't have TV. Somehow they would always kind of say, okay, never mind. Let me give you, let's figure out how you don't have to pay quite so much. And they never had CLV in front of them. I was not a good customer. Eventually, they actually figured that out and stopped doing it. So, but at that time, you could get, cut the cord services, or Roku come along and all of the stuff. So it became much easier. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about data governance and master data management, because we talked about the capabilities. Let's talk about what capabilities together. What are you managing? So data governance, you're managing external trends data, you're managing revenues, and you're managing costs, and then you're managing client data and product data. What are the right sources? Who are responsible? Who are the data stewards? What are the quality? All of that. So your data governance is, again, orchestrator between business, technology, and data, and all the kind of roles and responsibilities, people who do it, how they do it. So that's why data governance is. And master data management, in this case, you're managing client data and product data, right? Just that, nothing, that's so. Now let's go. Can I go a little, because we've had a conversation, we have a little bit more time because I have more to go through. Okay. So we're going to go specific case study, and it's called Client at Risk, and it's telecommunication company context, but this applies very, very broadly. So what are clients at risk? So the idea here is, who are the company's top clients that are at risks? So you want to produce that number so you can do something about, making sure they don't at risk. So top clients, that's a CLV, right? Purely. How do we know who is the top client?
Yeah.
Competitor information, then you have clients at risk. You need to know competitor information. So is there comparable service? Do they have a current offer? You need to know that, right? Telecommunication, so I'm going to use US companies. I'm T-Mobile. There is Verizon. If Verizon is running an offer, that's an important piece. Then the other piece is consumer rating. Like, how is your service rated comparatively to others? And that way, by the way, AI especially Gen AI, can play a very good role, because you want to get this information. It's not just consumer reports or official sources, but like TikToks and Yelp and you name it, right? And Facebook, you have all of that information. So what's the prevalence, basically sentiment, how you're doing against your competitors? And the last one, what's your last interaction been like? What was it? Did the customer call in and wanted to know about new product, or did they, had a 1 hour deeply frustrating call with the technical support and they got really, really frustrated? You want to know that, right? So this is the type of information that you need to identify clients at risk. So one of the things when you create data strategies, so if you notice what we did why, and it's a purely business problem. We want to know who are our top customers at risk. Then we talked about what do we need to have in place to get, to be able to do this. This is what do we need in terms of data. The next question is what do we need in terms of the capabilities, and it's the same set of capabilities, right? It's very, again, AI produce clients at risk. For the telecommunication, you want that to be in the, like if I talk about T-Mobile, for example, I have like 2 stores near me. If I go there and they identify me, they should have that flag pop up if I'm the result, if I'm on the list. I'm not, by the way. I've been using T-Mobile now for whatever 15 years, and I'm very happy, mostly happy with them, and I'm not switching because all of my family is on my plan. So that would be really, really difficult to switch. So I wouldn't be on that list. And if I call in, and call center people should have that. So every point of contact should have it. And chat, if they do chat and so on. So that's where Gen AI, by the way, is incredibly good. It's last mile delivery. So Gen AI, actually the best use of Gen AI is first mile and last mile. First mile, getting unstructured data in and making it usable, and the last mile delivering it within the operational flow so the information gets used. Okay, operationalizing. So we had this. So for this specific study, we need to manage CRM in addition to our standards. So all the same stuff. So one of the things, and this is too short, but actually what I'm going to have today in my class, I'm going to have my students compare data and data capabilities needed for financial reporting, for CLV, and I have another case study around sales acceleration, and I'm going to ask them to say in which order this should be done to maximize value. So because that's not a simple answer, because this question is, like, at this point right now, a technical question, but it depends on your stakeholders. It depends on your funding. It's beyond, like, this is the data that you need, data capabilities that you need, but you also, who is going to support you, who is going to be business data stewards. But again, so one of the things that happens and it happened to me, it's over-promising, because you think extending capabilities is easy, and it's not. So auditing and making sure your promises match the reality, and maybe identifying smaller steps you can take as you expand your data and data capability is important. So basically extending the capabilities, that's what I'm talking about. So if you build CLV, you just build the CLV before you did the predictive. This is what you needed to build, right? Now, if you want to extend it to top clients at risk, you have to add data governance for CRM, data integration, Gen AI for consumer sentiment, and AI model for attrition prediction. That's not a big lift. Actually, CLV, if there is a way to do CLV, but CLV itself is a very big lift. So kind of one of the recommendations and one of the things when I work with the clients, I try to find how can you step up to CLV in small increments by delivering value, because from CLV requires data management capabilities in such extensive one that a lot of other things become a lot easier. It's actually easier to go from CLV to finance, which is a defense use case, than the other way around. Because for finance, I'm going to just say it and move on. For finance, the product is it's summarized product. For CLV, it's a granular product. It's a lot easier to go from granular to summarized than the other way around. Okay. Key takeaway. Build roadmap that data capability that scale across different use cases, and make sure that your data builds on itself. Okay, playbook. Monday morning, okay, Tuesday morning. First piece, actually, anchor and vision. Yes, Howard, before we...
Yes, sorry. I was on the previous ones, you didn't mention metadata at all. That surely,
yeah, go ahead.
Surely all of your things like your data catalog, where all your data is, what's the meaning of the data, what's the transformation, there's got to be a lot of the metadata around there. Do you see that as part of data governance or?
Okay, so that's a very interesting question. And I actually talk about metadata in another case study. So the point of those case studies is directly tied. So keep in mind, this is geared towards business.
Yes.
We know that metadata management is deeply important, doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah.
However, if you want to show the direct correspondence between data management discipline and the business value, for this specific case study, there isn't. It's very difficult. So monetization case study, it's the first time when metadata management becomes directly tied, because to monetize the data you get from one business to create a new product, you need to know data rights, you need to know whether or not you can use this data for this purpose, and that's where metadata gets in. Another huge use case for metadata management, if you want to do Gen AI, because again, data rights and semantic model and all of this. So the point here is to get that tie in, because honestly, that's another one of my pet peeves. People start with data catalog before they build understanding why is it important. And one of the problems that I haven't met a business yet who said, oh, no, we don't want definition. Of course we do. They all agree to it. And look, I've lived through it, and it's one of the kind of disappointments I've had. You build it, you bring the platform and you build the platform, and they don't want to use it because people who create definition, they're busy. There are very few of them, and they're doing a lot of stuff. And for them, it's not important. So unless you build that, here is why it's important to you. And then they get it. And like, okay, for me to do my job, I need to go and do data catalog. Then you got, right? So that's actually why monetization case study is there, to introduce the tie into metadata. I found when I was coming up with the case studies, and the way I found out, came up with them, by the way, was talking to business people who solve those problems and walking through what they needed and what data capabilities. So they're all kind of based in real life. I couldn't find one where it would directly tie metadata to business outcome. So that's a problem. That's why metadata is one of the hardest disciplines. I don't know if that's your experience, but in my experience, getting business to do catalog quote, unless you have regulatory drivers, that's another one, regulatory drivers. But if you don't have regulatory drivers, doing catalog with the business definition is just so hard.
What I do find is that without the catalog, the data governance team doesn't really know what information assets are in the business unit. They're producing all sorts of stuff with Excel or everything like that. You know, if it's all about going to a database, that's fine, but it's not always that's not always the case.
That's the complexity of data catalog. Implementation of data catalog, that's why I don't like it when people start with it, because you have to build some muscle before you can do it in a way that's actually effective. Okay. And again, I'm with you. I love data catalogs. When they showed up on the market, I'm like, oh my God, finally something that would help with that problem. Yeah. And then I have gone, like, we brought in data catalog and we had to take it out because it was not being used. Anyway, there are lots of stories around that. Yeah, I hear you. So anchor to vision, to the company's vision. So vision is not, we're going to have we'll be a data-driven company. The vision is what your company is about. And that's, I find, especially like with all the stories, like we hear about, for example, insurance companies using data to deny claims. Presumably, the vision of the company is not to deny service to its customers.
Mm.
However, they're using data, I mean, it's for the efficiency reason, but is it in line with the vision of the company? So vision, what is company about, is very important. Second one, align with growth levers. So what is your company about? What are the current business strategies? And that's a conversation with the business. A conversation with the business is not, what do you want? Like, what's your problem with data? The conversation is how you're achieving your goals for the business this year. Then define and align. So on business value. So what's the most important one? What do you need? And then extend capabilities. That's it. Questions, and I have my LinkedIn and my book here. So meanwhile, questions. So I see a question from William. William Evans. I'm not sure.
He normally has a lot to say, but I think maybe his sound is not working.
Okay.
William? No.
If you want to put it in the chat, if your sound is not working.
Oh, mic is not working. Yeah.
Yeah.
MIC. What's the question, William? Will you write it for us? Let's see if we can find any questions. Anybody else have a question? Mr. Bolton? Or Shane? Anything from your side, Shane? Yeah, sorry, Paul.
Sorry, man. I was just pondering on how to it's just calculating the cost of those data management capabilities so that you've got something to position in your profit calc for the CLV. I mean, obviously it's cost of resources, cost of tech.
Is it the ROI?
Yeah. So, Paul, great question. And this is actually in the book, a point where I introduced data quality at the source. Because when I saw it in real life, so this retention top client. So one of the things, if your calculation of CLV cuts into CLV, that's probably not worth it. So it's not only, so what I have seen people doing this manually. Top clients at risk reporting, they could do it only once a month. It was huge manual effort, and they never had tracking to see whether or not what they produced was actually correct. And that cuts into CLV. So one of the things that CLV, why I like CLV case study and approach to start with, because it makes a great argument for doing data quality at the source and doing master data management at the source. Because if you have to build your data, all of your data capabilities in the back, meaning, you know what I mean, on consumption, you bring data in and then you do continuous cleanup, that's really expensive. So, and again, in the book, I have a whole journey of different levels of data centricity and whether or not A, you can even do CLV, and B, even if you can do it, that it's very expensive. It cuts into CLV.
Yeah.
So CLV, and again, this is why I like it so much, is one of the ways to get business buy into doing data quality in the source and buy into consider, like MDM at the source is complicated, but doing master data management at the source.
Right, thank you. Thanks.
Okay, we have Tiru has asked a question. And what is your guidance on the type of tools, technology that are practically important to enabling an efficient data ecosystem, to enabling unlocking of the value from data, master data analysis, noting the AI era we are now in?
Yeah, so couple of things here. I'm not going to be recommending specific tools because it's very much dependent on what you've got already. But here is my tool guidance. And I think somewhere I even have a newsletter on this. So for more detail. So for data management tools, such as master data management, data catalog specifically. What the first thing that's very important and very underappreciated, that UX is easy for business users. Because your master data management is going to fail if business people don't manage exceptions. And if managing exceptions is difficult, they're not going to do it. So that's, again, mistake we have made, because we have made for much stronger match and merge engine, and we kind of discounted the custom CX of our tool, and we paid for it heavily. So that's number one. The second point is integration with your current set of technologies that you have. And what I mean by that, bringing a new tool in, you have to make sure, like master data management, again, I'm picking on this, the same is true for data catalogs. They all say they have adapters or they have stuff out of the box. You have to test whether they in fact do have adapters for the software for the platforms you have. So ease of integration is incredibly important. The third one, managing it, well, now there is a fourth one because there is AI. So the third one, managing it as a product, meaning you have you implement minimal viable product, you get it adopted, and you keep growing. So don't go like full strength implementation, then find out that whatever customization you made is not working for you. So, and the fourth one, so all the tools currently on the market, or at least most of the tools, say that they have AI. AI for data catalog implementation, especially Gen AI, is very helpful in the sense that it really helps business stewards to basically it can create business metadata, and instead of people typing it in, they can just check and say that's in fact correct and it's not a hallucination, what have you. Even though all tools say they have it, not all of them are good. Master data management, again, you have a huge room for AI, for machine learning, for match and merge. All of this, again, you have to make sure, you have to test this. You have to do a POC on your data in your environment to see whether it's actually working the way you expect it to work. So that's kind of one of my always do a POC on your data in your environment.
Thank you. Now I've got some the question from William, and I can see your playbook talks about vision and growth levers, and typically if we have a strong business architecture, they've got a lot of this mapped with the one metric that matters and the cake layers and the balanced scorecard. But a lot of the times we find this being driven potentially by the CEO. And that could be either it comes from a CFO background or from a sales or a marketing, and these things change. They can change if you haven't really got a well-defined performance model. And how do you deal with those type of issues? And
so you don't do it once. You keep doing it. So business changes, even if you don't have kind of basically different backgrounds and stuff. Business changes. So what you do is you anchor to the growth lever. So whatever, that's necessarily growth. It could be risk, it could be risk control, what have you. What's important for the company right now, but you tie to the metrics and initiatives that business has. So another thing that I talk about quite a bit, instead of creating your own initiative and having to prove your own ROI and coming up with your own metric, deliver to the business initiative. So business has an initiative to retain top customers. You're building capabilities to help them do it. They have metrics. You're building capabilities to help them achieve the metrics. But again, this is ongoing process. You build a little and you check whether that's why you have MVP and you have value-based roadmap that goes in really small increments. It's a much longer conversation, by the way. So I'm kind of,
How would you prioritize that? Because do you take it from the highest person, or do you take it from the most growth, or you're going to have to prioritize commercially, or?
So you prioritize, and again, I do have that in the book. So there are a bunch of things you prioritize. First, you collect it from multiple people, so you don't do your one use case. You do use cases from multiple, so you get business drivers and you do those information maps across multiple drivers. You see what's in common and you see what's the most reasonable path in terms of data and data capabilities to achieve it. And there is a very simple prioritization matrix that I show in the book, value versus delivery. And your MVP is kind of sitting where you have highest value relative to amount of time and money you have to spend. That political, like, book doesn't go, but we all know the political consideration as well. Right? That kind of overlays it. But first you do non-political version of it, so you know what's reality. And then you do political overlay and you see how you adjust. What if anything, you have to adjust. But you adjust it in a way that you still have the understanding what's the best way to do it. Again, I've been in this business for over 30 years. Politics matter. Who is important in the company matters. Delivering a huge amount to somebody who is not highly placed in the company and is not highly influential may not be the best way to start. Or it may be. It depends. If it builds you to the next one, if you do it in 3 months, and then in 6 months, you do it for this guy or girl or woman, whatever, right? You do it for that person, and it built you enough that in 3 more months, you can deliver something for a much more important person. Maybe you start. So, but again, first you take politics out and you do. Yeah. Okay. I think Boitumelo, I'm sure.
Boitumelo?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much, Julia, for sharing your valuable insights. So I am a newly appointed data steward, and so the team that I'm a part of did not have a data steward before. So meaning that I have to start from the ground with everything. So there's a lot of gaps. There is no data metadata. There is no a data strategy for the business unit. There is a group one, but I think it's also valuable to have for the particular business unit data management strategy. There is no data quality visualization, so we cannot even track data quality and remediate. So I think I've been battling to try to see what do I start with. There's a lot that needs to be done. What will bring value quickly, I think. I don't know if I should be looking at the pace, but I think having to, just to decide what is the first thing that needs to be done, if there's so much that, that needs to be done. Where would you recommend I start?
So are you, this is more, it is a more complicated answer that I can do in a few minutes, but let me start. And then there is a way you can find to connect with me if you'd like to connect with me offline, and we can have a more in-depth discussion. But basically, if you are a steward for a business unit, if I understood correctly, start with, again, with the why, meaning start with your business unit. What are they trying to achieve this year? What are their goals? What are they struggling with? And then pick thing that is in the intersection of a couple of, here is the data and data capability they need to fix it, to achieve it, and start there. And I recommend don't kind of start with here is what we want to achieve, and to do this, and I'm of course making it up because. But most of the time, you need to know what's authoritative data source. What's a good place to get this data? Could be internally, could be externally, could be CRM. That's where you start data governance. You say, okay, as a steward, we're going to first designate what's the good source of data, and we'll put that in place. And then what's the quality that we expect from this data, given what we want to achieve. So basically start with a very specific delivery, but it's tied to the goals of your unit. And do it in the way that you can build on it, that you don't just have, I wrote recently quite a few newsletters around that the list of use cases is not a strategy. they're important for the strategy. So kind of try to arrange as you deliver value in the way that grows capabilities as you go. I know I'm like in 30 seconds covering a work that you would have to do. Like it's going to take you more than 5 minutes to do, depending on the size of your business unit and the size of your company. But that's the idea. Start figuring out where the value is and what do you need from it, and then tie your stewardship rules and roles and what you do to that value. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you. I will try to connect with you on LinkedIn as well. Thank you so much.
And Boitumelo, I think what's also helpful is when you look at the growth levers and the things that are important, like CLV, that gives you an understanding of the critical data elements that go to calculate that, exactly
Yes.
what Julia has presented. And then you go back and you find the data that is the most trusted for those critical data elements, and then you start bringing them through. So the nice thing about growth levers and vision and value is it's at a critical data element, and those are the ones you got to pay attention to in terms of where do I source them, what's the quality, how do I make sure I have an authoritative source, and how do I land them in the right place. So you don't need to do all of master data for client data, you just need to do the ones that are important, otherwise you're going to spend your life there.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Thank you. So find the critical data elements first, then focus on those.
That drive the
critical
business.
but critical data for the important drivers for the business.
100%.
Yes.
That's the key.
And then what are the capabilities that you need to start delivering, because it's not all of them. So don't go, most likely, don't go say, oh, we're going to build a data warehouse. Like, don't start with the data warehouse.
Yeah. I won't even start.
This is another one. Like, people either start with data warehouse or they start with policy, council, and catalog. And it's just, unless they're very lucky, neither one of those approaches works on its own.
Okay. No, thank you so much.
Okay, Debbie, I think we need to do the draw before everybody leaves.
Yes.
Are we getting to? So if you wouldn't mind, we've got Paul's hands up. First one up. Okay, so Julia, we need you to close your eyes, and then we'll tell you the number of hands that are up, and then you choose a number between 1 and the number.
Yeah, we'll see how many hands are risen. So if everyone can raise their hand, please, if you would like to win a copy of Julia's book. And then in about 30 seconds, I'm going to close and tell Julia which number to think of. So I'm just giving everyone an opportunity. Everyone wants this book. Look at that. Okay. So far we're on 20. I think it's more. Okay. All right. I'm going to close it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, so Julia, if you can think of a number between 1 and 22, please. 24.
1 and 24.
Yes,
24.
please.
I'm actually doing, I'm looking down. This is on my phone. I'm doing a random number generator between 1 and 24.
1 to 24.
Yeah, 15.
Okay.
Number 15
That's what Google said.
is Nomfundo.
Fantastic.
You need to change apps. I don't like your app.
Yeah, me too. Hey.
What?
Okay. Nomfundo, please can you share
Well
your
done.
details with us so that we can make sure you get a copy of the book? Julia, thank you so much. Thank you very much for sharing it. I think a lot of people got a lot out of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia.
And I just want to say, I do have a blog, newsletter on LinkedIn called Leading with Data. And I publish every week, and there is like 2 years worth of stuff. So, and I write about all kinds of different